When I was a young Radley, one of the first gaming genres I really fell in love with was the humble city builder. I could lose myself for hours designing and managing a bustling community, directing the flow of resources, and striving for efficiency. But those games can also be a little overwhelming with so many details at play. Enter Islanders, a simple city building experience by indie developer Grizzly Games. Being a minimalist experience, Islanders does away with some of the more finicky parts of the city building genre, like managing traffic flow or utilities. Instead, you're simply tasked with placing structures in just the right spot, so they attract maximum points. A meter in the bottom left corner tells you how many points you need to earn to unlock the next lot of buildings, called a pack. With each unlock, you choose between 2 packs, which offer different building types. However, this didn't really impact the gameplay as much as I felt it should. For example, my attempts to build a peaceful farming island were thwarted, as ultimately you always need to build a city. Each building has an active radius from which it will determine points. You'll receive bonus points or penalties, according to what other things are within that radius. What this means is placement is everything. Early on, it seems pretty easy, just throw down any building wherever it can get the maximum number of points right this second. But sometimes you have to lose points to gain points. Because bonuses and penalties differ from building to building, sometimes it's more wise to cluster buildings which may attract a penalty in order to get a bigger bonus later on. The sense of reward that you get when you perfectly nudge a building into place for a massive points is just unspeakable. Watching those points fly through the air and fill the meter is incredibly satisfying, and it just drives you forward. There's also some strategy to what should go down first. Bonuses and penalties are only dealt when a building's placed, so it pays to figure out what order to build in. But you can't plan ahead for everything. Like many city builders, Islanders seems to provide a playground purpose-built for people who like to create order and efficiency, but then make it impossible to actually achieve that. Because ever so cruelly, no matter what you do, there will always be a small gap. The logical, forgiving side of me understands this. It adds to the challenge. It would feel too sterile if everything was on a grid. But the part of me that loves tessellation is very, very upset. Why won't you fit? Even worse, sometimes it looks like something should fit in a spot, but nope, the game says no, and you're left staring at useless, empty space which taunts you. Mercifully though, the game overall has a beautiful, calm, meditative nature. You have all the time in the world to make your moves, and the color palette and design feels gentle and warm. Each island is gorgeous, seamlessly providing challenges in space and altitude for you to tangle with. The world is a delight to gaze upon. Its tininess feels toy-like, complete with miniature trees. A pristine little landscape for me to mercilessly cram a glut of buildings on. Probably my biggest compliment of the game is that Islanders turned me into a greedy, obsessive madwoman. Every last bit of space needed to be filled, and I needed to squeeze every last point I possibly could from each island before moving on to the next. I'll put a building wherever it needs to go, I don't even care. I wasn't always like this. Islanders lets you play at quite an easygoing, casual pace, which I enjoyed for my first few hours with the game. But it changed me. As I improved and began to work its systems better, I realized that there's also a fair amount of strategy if you want to delve into it, and it tapped into my absolute enjoyment of efficiency. Accessible yet complex is one of my favorite design philosophies for a game, and while it doesn't offer the richest strategy ever, it certainly has enough to have you scratching your head and coming back for more, which I definitely will be. I'm giving Islanders 4.5 out of 5 rubber chickens.